Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, traders. Steve here at Logic FX Trading, and welcome to our weekly FX analysis. But another really interesting week last week, guys, particularly in the stock market point of view. But we'll have a look at all of that in a moment. Let's just have a quick look at this week's economic calendar. Nothing scheduled for today, although Chairman Powell's speaking today, but I think he's it'll be his personal opinion of what's happening as opposed to speaking for the board as a whole, or the committee as a whole. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say there. Tomorrow, no major events. So it'll be Wednesday's the first major event, core inflation in the UK. We have extraordinary NATO summit in Belgium on Thursday. That's obviously been not something we would normally see, but obviously the situation with let's just say the situation in Ukraine, that's now become an important economic event. And then with durable goods orders and market manufacturing PMI in the United States, also on Thursday, and on Friday we've got the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Final for March and IFO Business Climate in Germany. So not really a lot on there, but as we've been saying for the last few weeks, guys, the war seems to be the most important economic factor at the moment, and particularly energy supplies seems to be the thing that's really pushing inflation. Oil went up. We'll have a look at the oil chart in a moment, guys. Oil went up and then it came back down again. I think it's got up. It's got upward. It'll go up from here, folks, but we'll have a look at that in a moment. Nothing major to look at there, guys, but as usual, keep an eye on the news on a daily basis. Okay, as far as our DXY chart's concerned, remember we've been in this diagonal since start of 2021. I think there's one more up here, guys, as I said last week. I did say last week we'd maybe get a flat here and then we'd get one more up. Now, I don't know how far this is going to go, but if this is a 5, which I think it is, from here, 1, 2, it's a diagonal, guys, 1, 2, 3 to there, flat for a 4, and then a 5. It can't really be longer than that. Well, it could be longer than that, so long as the third wave is not the shortest. It's a pretty half-decent third wave, but I'm kind of looking at 100 or thereabouts, and I think, it'll get rejected around there. And after that, well, listen, we'll have a look and see where we are next week, or even if we get there. But at some point along here, I'm going to look for the top in the dollar and then start to look to trade it short. That doesn't mean that it's going to, suddenly go short, but any time that, where it's pulling back, I'll be then trying to trade it short. I think it's got into an area now that it could stay here, but eventually the next trend for me would be down. And of course, I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm looking, 3 months, 6 months down the line, we'll start to see this drop and maybe even drop out of there, guys. We don't know what's going to happen with the war. We don't know how long it's going to drag out for and what effects it's going to have on the Fed and what it does. But ultimately, everybody else has to react as well, particularly the Eurozone. That could be delayed because of the war. Listen, it's difficult to say at the moment going ahead, but the dollar will come off these highs. But I do think there's one more up, guys. So let's just focus on this for the next few weeks. I think there'll be another move up in the dollar, and then we'll get a bouncy around, an Elliott wave bouncy around. We'll have probably a flat area here, and then we'll start to see the dollar coming off these highs, folks. So let's just go in and look at this in the 1 hour time scale. What we said last week, we were in here somewhere, and we said, we'll probably get this coming off to give us a bigger pullback than that. I didn't think that was a big enough structure for a fourth wave, if that's what it is, given that zigzag for me would have been the third wave. So we were looking for the bigger structure. Obviously, we don't have to get it, but if we do get it, then for me, that's the sign that our projections are correct. We're in a flat. Can this come off and break there? It can do. I'm wondering, is that little double bottom there all we're going to get? The last time we were looking at one of these flats, um, let's go over to the euro dollar. I think it was the euro dollar. Yeah, it was euro dollar. Let's go back to DXY. It was here, guys. It was actually over here. Let's just take this out for the meantime. We were getting this flat the last time, and everybody was calling it long. And they said when that got to there, that was the C wave, as it were, but it didn't look like it to me. And I said, listen, don't be trading this long yet. Wait for it to break that. Now, we didn't know it was going to go that far, but wait for it to break that, and then we'll look to trade it up, which is what happened, guys. We can't judge them to the exact turning point, and we could have been wrong. But the important thing is that trade it when you think you're right. That's not the right term, guys. Trade it when it sets up for what you're looking for. And for me, it needed to break the bottom before it went. Okay, so that was our fourth wave of our diagonal up. And it took it a long time to break out of that, guys. And then for me, this is the last wave. And remember, it's a diagonal. All of these are diagonals, because we said that way back over here, that this would either run flat or it would run up in a diagonal. And then eventually it started, proving itself that it was going to go up in the diagonal, which is what we've been trading for the last year or so. So for me, fourth wave, fifth wave up, guys. So I always like to tell you what I'm trading. I don't trade anywhere near as much currency as I used to do, probably because stock market became so profitable over the last year and a half. You go where the money is, you go where the movement is, guys. But I'm starting to get back into currency trading. I have China dollar long, and I have dollar Swedish krona long. Am I right? Well, we'll see. Only time will tell, guys. So I'm looking for that trade there, guys, up into there and possibly beyond. Okay. Long drawn out way of saying that, but that's basically what I'm looking for. Last week I said look for a zigzag here and then one down. The zigzag for me has set up. This is the time you need to be brave to trade it down. I'm not going to trade that one this time. Remember, I did trade this, not the whole way down. I think I got it to there. And as it started to come back up, I thought I'm taking my profit. Yeah, we were looking for a zigzag. We've got a zigzag. Now we need to make the decision. Are we going to try and trade it down, which would be the equivalent of that trade there, guys. Pound, same thing. I have that in there. I think it was because the way this was running, we were looking for the pullback, and I wasn't trying to trade it, guys. It was just to let me know when the pullback happened. So there's a pullback. Is that the whole pullback? Possibly. And then we're looking for a move down. Those are probably exaggerated. I maybe drew those on a higher time scale. Yeah. I've got the X through it. I said it's not going away down there, but it could come down to here and then run flat, which is kind of the opposite of what I'm looking for DXY. Moving long and then running flat, guys, and then it'll start to come off. Aussie. No, I'm not trying to trade this down, guys. Can it go down? Well, it could, but with commodity prices where they are, I don't want to trade against the Aussie at this time. And I don't want to trade against the dollar at this time. If I'm wrong in the dollar, then that would be a fantastic trade long, but I don't know that whether I'm right or wrong. I suspect that the dollar will go long because of the tightening that's going to occur in the US. So I wouldn't trade this. Maybe against the euro, maybe against the pound. but not against the dollar, guys. So we'll leave that one. New Zealand tends to follow to follow the Aussie, and therefore also same there. I'll not try and trade that. US CAD's also highly commodity. Good with the words this morning, guys. On the a commodity currency. Let's call it that. It's a commodity currency. Therefore, this could just run flat. Could end up doing something like that. So, or even a push further down against the dollar. But because we're not certain, I would leave it alone. You're trading. You'd be trading long against long, and there's no point in doing that. US Swiss, we had a good push up and a pull back. Gold, it depends on how the market reacts to the the continuation of the war. Have they priced in that the war was going to be over? There was a lot of talk about peace talks last week, but look at what they've done. They've just continued to bombard. Sorry, I can't remember the name of the port city. They've completely devastated it. So it's what they did with Grozny. It's what they did in Aleppo and places like that. Guys are just dogs. They don't care about human life whatsoever. And I'm not talking about the Russian people. I'm talking about their leaders, folks. And obviously a lot of Russian people elected them, but there you go. Doesn't mean they're all like that. So this at the minute's running flat for me. Yes, it looks like maybe there's a breakout there, but I wouldn't bet against it running flat again, guys. So it's not for me at the minute. Now, this is the one I've taken. I'm in the red with it at the moment, guys, but that's what you expect when you trade these things. Because I'm trading it, let's get down a little bit. I'm a little bit wary that there could be one more down in this, but this tends to lead the way. This pair tends to lead the way for dollar trades, guys. It seems to move faster, or it becomes more obvious where the dollar's moving when you look at this. And because I'm looking for the dollar to go long, I'm kind of trying to preempt it here, and I'm trying to trade that back up to there. I'll not try and trade it any further. It might not even get there, but I'll try and take that trade. That's what I've done. When will I get out of it? If it gives me one more, I'll stay in. But if it doesn't then give me the trade, I'm out. But I do think that either there or here, this will push long. US yen. The end's weakening at the minute, guys. Way back over here, I said, listen, this will continue long. Look for a setup to take it long. We didn't get the setup. The problem is at the minute, that looks like a bit of an ending diagonal going on there. It's a pretty impulsive move, folks. I wish I had been in that. This looks now like it wants to come off. Is there more upside to it? Well, possibly, but let it pull back first. Ending diagonal there, guys. Look at the divergence. Doesn't have to happen, but it certainly looks like it. I wouldn't try and trade it down, but let it happen. If it happens, then we'll think about trading it back up and see if there's anything further up there. Let's take a bigger look at it. You see, it's come up against there as well. It's just actually broken through it a little bit, but you would. That's a pretty major level. You would expect a bit of a reaction off it, guys. And then next time round, see if it breaks through it. China, this is the other one that I'm in. Now, any of you have been listening to me for a while. I got into this. Well, this is daily. I was going to say back over there, but I didn't. It was here. Sorry, folks. I got into it here, folks, because we'd had this impulse. We'd moved so far down on the on the daily and the 4 hour time scale. Look where we came from, folks. Let's take it out to daily. And for me, it was certainly coming into a zone where it wants to go back into this area, somewhere between there and there. So even if you traded up into there, because often what you'll get when you get to there, you'll get a pullback before. If it's going to go to there, you would get a pullback. So certainly from there to there, I'd be looking to trade this long. Now, there is a bit of a problem with it in that it should have been doing that already. And as I mentioned, I think last week and the week before, you know, I listen to Bloomberg most of the time during the day, and they actually came out and they were laughing a few weeks ago saying what's going on with the dollar yuan. You know, it should be going long, but it was still stuck in this. Eventually, anyway, it moved. So I made a little bit of profit on it. Then I was looking for this. I think it was last week. I was looking for that. So I took my profit. Must have been about there. I took the profit. Looking for a correction to get into it to go long again. As it was, it pushed on up. This is due to the war, folks, and due to the Fed last week saying they were going to hike rates. I think 6 or 7 times is what they're looking for now. So we got this. Then we got this pull back, which is what I'd been looking for from here. So anyway, we've got a pullback now. That's impulse. This could do that, guys, before it goes. Now, I've got involved here long, and I'm kind of breaking even at the minute. Why have I got involved here? Because I think it's got loads of room to go. It could give us that. And if it does that, I'll probably add another position there. But I don't want to miss it. So if it goes from here, I don't want to say, hey, I missed that big move because I was waiting for the perfect setup. So obviously my stop loss, I don't have a tight stop loss on it. The stop loss is way down here somewhere, guys. So if this moves to there, I'll not be surprised. I'll not be happy, but I'll not be surprised. If it gets there and then starts to come long again, sets this alarm off, and I'll set it a little bit tighter, then I'll add to it again and I'll try and trade it up. Obviously, your first target will be your previous high, but looking at it in a higher time scale, it certainly looks like it's got a lot of room to move into, guys. And it'll take its time. The downside of this is that there are big fees on these things for your leverage, guys. So you don't really want to be stuck in them too long. That one cost me more than I got out of it because I had to wait so long for it to come back. I would have broken even had it pushed on, had I allowed it to push on up. But I wasn't thinking about the fees, and you don't see the fees until the positions close, and then you get hit with the fees, guys. But I think I had about $1,500 on this with a 5 leverage, and it was $54 was the fees over that period of time, which was a couple of weeks, guys. But you know, you've got to keep a mind on that. Gold, it's also pulled back. We're on the daily there. I suspect gold will not be going short from here. The uncertainty is going to remain. So gold will possibly do this and maybe even push on up, guys. Silver will do the same as gold. It's pulled back. Is this finished? Well, there's 2 ways of looking at this from an Elliott point of view. That could be a zigzag. That's the start of an impulse. Maybe it ends there. Maybe it pushes on through. Or you could look at it and say, well, it's coming down in the diagonal. Well, that's the 4th wave, and this is the 5th wave, which means it could go long from there. I'm still in a little bit of silver from a way back, so I'm just looking to break even on it. Should I have got into it more back over here? Well, hindsight's a wonderful thing, guys, but I did say around here that it was going to go long from here. I think from around here we say, well, that's it. It's going to go long from here, because prior to that we were looking for this fifth wave maybe to come down into $15 or that's 19, maybe down into 19, $18, and from there it would be a definite buy. But because I'd already been in it so long, I didn't buy into it again, guys. So I'm just looking to break even. Bitcoin, it's gradually moving up. Um, let's see what it does today. Obviously, it's open at the moment. I think the stock markets will come off a little bit today, guys, because the move up last week was just incredible. Some of the stocks that I bought quite a few Chinese stocks and kept adding to them as they dropped and dropped and dropped. And of course, it's scary when you do that because everybody's saying don't be buying Chinese stocks, but the companies just look so cheap. So I bought quite a few. And last week, some of them went up 30, 34, 35%, guys. Made quite a bit of money on my more recent purchases. But the ones initially that I bought on the way down, didn't buy at the top, by the way, guys. On the way down, some of those are still in the red, but at least account moved up quite nicely last week, guys. So what's going to happen with this? Well, on the long term, I think there's upside to Bitcoin. Um, that may have been the bottom. I don't see it taking off, like that. But there could certainly be a diagonal going on here, something like that, and then eventually going long, depending what happens with the stock market. If there's a rush out of the stock market, it'll hit Bitcoin as well. It isn't a hedge for anything, folks. Can't remember what I had that in there for. It isn't a hedge. It isn't a move to safety. It's a gamble. It's always a gamble. Ethereum, same thing. It'll move in the same direction as Bitcoin. Oil are just starting to come back up. We came off the highs. I put that in. I don't know when that happened, guys. March the 15th, middle of the week last week, I put this in. It's gone off. It's moved up. I've put in there. It will at least go sideways. It's certainly not going low. And there could be more upside to it, guys. I don't trade oil. It's too expensive. I just use it as an indicator of what's going on elsewhere and the CAD as well, guys. But I do see more upside to oil, and it will possibly push on up through the war's last. The war's going to last a long time, folks. Euro CAD possibly. Oh, sorry, I nearly said possibly long there. That's not what we're looking for. That will possibly go short if the oil price comes up, and particularly the dollar goes long. Euro Oz, I can see more downside to that. Last week I was saying this would run flat and possibly long, but I'm coming away from that again, guys. I think this has come down quite impulsively. Maybe it puts in a little pullback here, but I think there's more downside to it. If a trader will let you know. You're New Zealand, same thing. Obviously, I was looking for this last week, but I don't think I'm right on that. I think there's more downside to this, so maybe some sort of little flag and then short. Euro yen. Well, that's the weakness in the yen, guys. I was looking for it to run flat, but there's the yen continue to weaken, just as with the dollar. Wait for a pullback and then maybe try and trade it long. But provided the dollar, stays strong, I'd prefer to trade it against the dollar or the dollar against the yen. Swiss, deeper pullback. I was looking for a flat, or was it? Yeah, there was a flat in there the other day. I was saying, well, let's have a look at that and see if it runs flat. It's pushed on up. It's pulling back. I would wait for this to finish and then see if it breaks that and starts going long again. Pound CAD. Well, I don't want to bet against the CAD, but that looks like an ending diagonal going on there, guys. Could be a move up. I don't want to trade it. Sorry, let me take that arrow off. Could be a move up. Maybe it gets to there and then drops again. Maybe that would be a trade. Pound Oz. If it wasn't there, I would say short. Last week we were looking for this. We got that and it pushed a little further. We got that. It came a little bit deeper. Is it going to do that? Well, I don't think so, guys. I think it might pull back to that and then break out, but I wouldn't like to try and trade through there. But look at it. Impulse, flat. Is it going to give us another impulse? Maybe if it pulled back up to there and then started to come, I would trade it from there. I wouldn't like to trade it near there in case it bounces off it again. And certainly wouldn't like to trade short there in case it went back up to the top. So if you wanted to trade this, wait for it to come to the back to the top of that structure. So I'll put this back in. I'll put it in like that. Not because I want to trade it. Because of that. That would possibly be the trade. Pound New Zealand would be the same thing, guys. If it comes back up, look for that. That's a really impulsive move there. Let's look at it on a higher time scale before I leave you with that, guys. Look at that. That would have been lovely to trade. Yeah, just be careful with that. It's come a long way down, folks. You know, could come down into there. Just looking at that zigzag there, guys. The thing is that you had that massive impulse and it took a long, long time before the next leg came in. Then there was that big impulse after it moved along there. It ran flat and then look. Could we get that? Not at the minute. Let's just see what happens to commodities. Keep an eye on commodity prices, guys. If they stay high or keep going up, then you wouldn't want to bet against the Aussie. But if they start coming off, then you could possibly trade against the Aussie. Pound Swiss, it's done the same thing. We had that initial impulse. It's pushing down. I don't know where that's going. Pound Euro. If it stays true to form, the next move should be long, as I indicated last week. Pound Yen. That's the weakness of the yen. But yet again, last week we're looking for a setup to then try and trade it. Didn't get the setup. So I would say the same thing. You don't want to be trying to trade it long from there, guys. Let's see if we get a setup to try and trade it up. Aussie yen, well, we're looking for a pullback last week to trade it long. I would do the same now. Look for some sort of pullback to try and trade it long. Aussie New Zealand. We were looking for it to go long. It's gone long, but I wouldn't be getting involved in the middle of that, guys. Let's clean it up a little bit. Guys, remember this is my first look at these things. I haven't pre-prepared this, you know. And the reason we started doing it like this was to not necessarily so you could hear my opinions, but just to see the process for anyone that's trying to learn how to do this themselves, that you don't know all the time what's going on. So you kind of scan through them, and then if there's something that you kind of got an inkling on, then you can focus in on that and keep an eye out and say to yourself, well, if it does that, then, you know, we'll look at it to take a trade. But if you don't know, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Nobody knows what's going on all the time. The people that tell you that they do are basically liars, you know. And I don't mind using that because it's the truth. So, what about this? If it came down again, I'd try and trade it up, but I don't know that it is. It could hang about there and then take another move up. But if it come down to there, I would look to trade it. I do like trading this pair, but it's kind of it came up impulsively and it's kind of going flat at the minute. I do think there's more upside to it, but I wouldn't want to trade it from there. Um, I'm sorry I didn't try and trade it from there because we were looking for a pullback. And when we're looking for a pullback, we kind of draw something like that, guys. But it'll take different forms. But that's what you're kind of looking for. That was a nice sharp zigzag back down. Really, you're preferring to have something that would look more like that. A bit of a flatter zigzag. But nonetheless, that was a zigzag. The alarm should have gone off. I'm not sure that you would have got very far with it. So it's not a great setup unless you really had it nailed on in your head that it was going to go long and you were just waiting for a level. Aussie Swiss. Yet again, we were just looking for, from here, a bit of a pullback. Turns out that was the complete flat correction. And then we had that move up. And now it's moving off. I think the next move will be long, but you're going to have to wait for some sort of setup. I wouldn't want to just jump in there. Aussie CAD. Yeah, last week we must have been there. And I basically said, listen, this will continue to run short like that, but I didn't want to try and trade it. I still don't want to trade it. I never really have a handle on these two. And the reason being, it's not blatantly obvious for me. You'd have to do a lot more research, which if something's blatantly obvious, then look at it and then do your research. But don't chase your tail with these things. If you're an expert on how this pair moves, then you're welcome to trade it. But to be honest, I'd never get a handle on it because they're both commodity based currencies, guys, and so the obvious thing is if commodities go up, they go up. But is there a differentiation between the two? Well, there is, but is it enough to be able to pinpoint? Not for me. Swiss yen. There we go, guys. I've just continually called this long and continually forgotten to trade it. But there we go. I've missed it again. I missed that one. I was in here. I was in long here, and I got out as it came back down, I think. No. I'm telling you, fibs. I was looking for that to drop again before trying to trade it long. So I didn't actually get involved in that. But I was looking to trade it long. Came out of there. We would have said, listen, from there, you're looking for a pullback. Didn't get involved in it again, guys. I don't think. Anyway, away you go. I think it was getting mixed up with something else, but there you go. But now look at that. On a higher time scale, guys, that's an ending diagonal. Impulse, pull back, impulse, pull back, impulse. Bump, bump, bump. Next move should be short. No, that's probably an exaggeration because we're on a daily. The trend's probably still long, guys, so I wouldn't want to try and trade it short because it can push on up. But if it were to drop, you'd get another opportunity to trade it long. That's the way I would play that. So it looks like an ending diagonal. It's been quite a move from back here. 1, pull back, 2, pull back, 3. Maybe it has a little bit more upside. But for me, the next move will be short. Maybe it comes into there. Maybe it comes a little bit more. I don't know if it will definitely happen. Of course, we never know. But because the trend's in that direction, I would then look to trade it from there up. So maybe next week or the week after, if this is dropped, then we'll talk about looking to trade that. Swiss yen, we were looking for a setup. I think we spoke about this on Saturday. Was it Saturday last week? We got a beautiful setup. You don't often get them, guys, but that was beautiful, and off it went. Now we're getting another setup. It could end up running flat like that, guys. So if it drops down into there, I would try and trade it long again. Let's see if it drops. Can it do that again? Well, it can, but looking at how it moves, I'd prefer to see a bit more of a pullback, and then just try and trade it long, and then there was the move. Now we did say, look, guys, back over here, we were looking for this to drop. Can't remember the reason why. Maybe it was the other side of that, or was that what was I looking for there? Can't remember the reason why I was looking for that to drop, but it was, and I said if it comes down to there, look, it's at least going to go to there and probably be beyond. Look at it. So it didn't catch it, but it was a beautiful move, and yet again on the higher time scale or in the analysis time scale, we got the analysis right, just didn't get the trade, guys. But at least getting the analysis right is half the battle. So what next? Well, you're going to have to wait for some sort of setup and then maybe look to trade it up again. Now, if the oil price continues to go long, then this will continue to go long. But you would have to get a setup. You can't jump in long there, guys. New Zealand yen, same thing. This is yen weakness. Commodity-based economy, guys. Getting hit with inflation, higher commodity prices. Probably accommodation. I think there is accommodation going on with the central bank. It's a big move, folks. So you'd really want a decent pullback before you try and trade that long. New Zealand CAD. But the looks of it, I just said the other week, I don't know which direction it's going to go in. It's the same as the Aussie CAD. I don't know, guys. I should actually take two of them out, because I never know. Let's just take them out. And then I don't have to tell you every week I don't know. There you go. Because I do just tell you every week I don't know. So what's the point? New Zealand Swiss. It's come up tremendously, same as with the yen. Look for a half decent move down, and then we'll see where it goes. And then maybe we'll get a bit of a flat period with it. But there you go. Ruble. I don't suggest you try and trade the ruble, but it has come back tremendously. I don't think there's much more downside for it from here, guys. I think it'll probably, as I indicated last week, it'll probably roll from here. It's dropped a lot further than I imagined it would. But it'll probably not get that bad. Let's just redraw this. I imagine the ruble will run in there in the zone there. So could you trade it long from there? Possibly, guys. I don't know what fees you're going to end up paying to try and, what spread will be on it. Probably a massive spread. And then your leverage fees on top of it. Probably not be feasible to trade it, but I suspect it will do something like that. South African Rand, also commodity based currency, folks. All sorts of minerals South Africa produces. And it's quite strong at the minute, moving against the dollar. Would I bet against it? No. And I'll tell you why I wouldn't bet against it, because we're looking for the dollar maybe to have one more up and then run flat and drop. So if that's where it's got to with the dollar strengthening, then it will probably continue to go short, particularly if commodity prices stay high. Yet again, before trading that, make up your mind what's happening with commodities. Gold particularly, guys, but also platinum, just loads of coal. Obviously, that's not as big a deal as gold and platinum and palladium and all types of things like that. Diamonds, and got it all. Used to be a fantastic country. I think it's a wee bit dangerous these days. Gone to the dogs. Well, and we'll say no more about that. Um, so there was a big impulse down, and then we got this zigzag. Now, that looks like it's getting ready to do that, but I'd be very, very careful of that. That's structurally. I suspect there's more downside to this. This could potentially end up doing something like that, guys. Would I try and trade it? No, I wouldn't. Um, it's also expensive to trade, and there's no setup for that to happen. So no, I wouldn't try and trade it. But just from an interest sake, let's see what happens with it. And then European, same thing. It dropped. And then we had this zigzag back up, and now it's moving. It's coming down into there. Obviously, you don't want to try and trade it through that, but I suspect that at some point it will be through there, which is quite amazing because South African Rand has been in the pits for so long, guys. I mean, when I went to South Africa many moons ago, it was against the pound. It was 4 to the pound, and I think it was about 150 to the dollar, so it was about 6 to the dollar. Well, that's the euro. The euro didn't exist back then. Talking about back in the early 80s, guys. Yeah. This is just out of interest. I have no interest in me blathering here, guys. I'm done. So to the dollar, it probably would have been around there when I went to South Africa. And then it just devalued. Let's put it in the daily. Oh, yeah. We've got a chart. I don't know why I'm guessing. Oh, it doesn't go back far enough. I was there in the 80s, guys, 80s and the 90s. So it was way down there, and then look what happened. If you fib that, take it from zero. Don't think that's right, is it? Anyway, I digress, guys. So that's it for today, guys. I think the dollar will go long. It's the strongest currency at the moment, folks. It's where you go when things are looking bad. So for this week, I try and trade the dollar long. Okay, bye for now.